Hey, welcome back everybody. It's good to see you again. So Stoker here, and today we're going to be going over a lot of questions and answers as it relates to map and compass and land navigation and orienteering. You asked the questions, so we're going to spend some time with it. If you want to master your fieldcraft or develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date. And so I did, I went back and I looked, I scoured back through, I tried to answer each and every single question that was asked in a response and to carry on that conversation. But then looking back, I was like, you know what, maybe some other people are going to have the same questions that some of you all had, and so I thought it might be worth it to spend some time. And so I dug back through my original land navigation demonstration video, how to use a compass. Whew, that was a great one, lots of conversation there. How to read a map, how to use a protractor, the Q&A video that I posted, as well as just everything else. So I tried to scour them through and try to collect as many as I could. So let's get to this. And so I want to tell you, I'm going to try to get through these with as much narrative as I can, and where the ones that are obvious, we need to get out into the woods and do some demonstration on how to answer these questions, we're going to do that as well. So just hang on tight and let's hang out for a few minutes here. So Mr. Crab asked, is land nav at Special Forces assessment selection similar to this, or is it going to be more complicated? And to be honest with you, all land nav is land nav. Once you know the basic fundamentals and the principles, and you have those skills and competencies that you can move out with confidence, it doesn't matter where you're at or what course you're is. But I will, in a subsequent video, go over some more, some advanced things that you can put in your kit bag if you're trying to go to a special selection. Absolutely. Rush Fan 32935 asks, can someone explain why you subtracted the grid angle instead of adding it? I thought if your declination was 9 degrees east and you were converting to a magnetic azimuth, that you would add 9 degrees to your grid azimuth instead of subtracting. Great question, and I did get beat up a little bit when it comes to magnetic declination as it relates to a compass and some map work. Not that anything that was presented was inaccurate or wrong, they just thought I could have spent a little bit more time on it. And so I will put together a pretty comprehensive but well broken down video on what magnetic declination is and how it all works in relationship to the world, as well as how we relate to it to a map. But one of the primary things is I never get it stuck in my head whether I have an easterly or a westerly declination based off where I'm at in the isogonic line. But I always look at my map. I always look at my map, and I never try to remember add if I'm trying to convert from grid to magnetic, subtract from magnetic to grid, because I can't keep it all up in my head. I mean, I do have it in my head, but I always look at my map because it's better to measure twice and cut once. So where I was at in Hawaii, where I was in relationship to my land navigation video, I plopped over the map and I looked at it and I said, this is what you do. So declination is positive if you're east of the isogonic line and negative if you're west of the isogonic line. If it's westerly, it's going to be a negative. If it's easterly, it's going to be a positive. Because I was in Hawaii and I'm to the west of the isogonic line, to the west of the magnetic pole, I'm going to subtract. But again, don't try to, it gets a little confusing when you talk easterly, westerly, isogonic. Hold on to what you got, man. I will put together a comprehensive video for you. So D. Isaac asked, what if you're in a heavily wooded area? How do you stay on course? Man, that is a great question, Isaac. So there are a couple different methods. One is just a box method where you're moving up and then you hang a right, shoot 90 degrees right or 90 degrees to the left. I was going to say left face or right face, right? And then you move out a prescribed amount of distance and then you face another 90 degrees back towards your heading and then back left or right, and then keep moving forward. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but I will try to get a demonstration for how that should work out and when you got boots on the ground. And so there are a couple other methods where you want to offset, and that's basically intentionally moving in the wrong direction because it's going to take you to a known point, and then you can shoot an azimuth from there. Or you can use an attack point, which is kind of similar to offsetting, but an attack point is moving to a predetermined location, knowing that it's a little bit closer than where you're at, and then from there you can move out to where you're trying to get off to. So Ryan Chami a few months ago asked, I'm sorry, I'm really new to this and I have most likely stupid question, man. I've heard all kinds of questions, and I promise you everybody's questions were not stupid. When I first oriented the map, why didn't I adjust for magnetic declination? when you use the compass to orient the map, isn't that orienting it towards magnetic north? And the answer to that question is yes. So when I lay my map down on the ground, and I'm just trying, where I'm holding it in my hands, and I'm just trying to orient myself to the world around me, if I'm using a compass to orient my map, it is orienting my map to magnetic north. And to be honest with you, because I'm not looking for precision, if I'm off 10, 12 degrees, that's not a big deal. I just want to make sure that when I look down at my map and look up at the world around me, that what I see on my map is what I see in front of me. And so if things are off a little bit, that's not that big of a deal. So Michael Worley, I hope I pronounced your last name right, said, hypothetical question. Let's say you've been given an 8-digit grid coordinate and there are no major terrain features within sight. How are you going to determine your exact location so that you can navigate on the correct path to your destination? So I'm assuming that we mean I know where I need to go, right? I've been given an 8-digit for where I need to go, but I don't know where I'm at right now. And so we're going to use resection for that. And unfortunately, based on your example, I don't have any major terrain features that I can see. So what that means is I need to get somewhere so that I can. And then once I at somewhere where I can look at my map and I can positively identify some features around me, then I can shoot an azimuth for myself to these locations, triangulate myself as far as where I'm at on my map, and then I'll know exactly where I'm at. Armor Vestris and RS and so many others ask, what about that ring on your finger, Stoker, man? Why you're telling us to keep all these metal objects away from our compass, but there you are and you're holding the compass in your hand and you got this big old wedding ring on your hand. And I gotta tell you, my wedding ring doesn't come off of my hand. Been married 22 years, almost 22 years, man, and I'm super stoked about that. But it's a great question as far as, you know, what sort of metals have a magnetic interference when it comes to our compass work. And my ring is titanium, which has an extremely weak magnetic interference, so it doesn't even move compass needles at all. Some other metals like gold has absolutely no magnetic interference, where things like steel, if it's got a lot of iron and steel in it, man, it's gonna make, just like you saw, I can make my compass turn all the way around on its edge with my knife. Keep your compass away from, you know, a lot of heavy electronic equipment that can interfere with it. You don't want to use a compass in your car. You don't want to get two compasses together, right? So you do want to be aware of what may or may not be interfering with your compass, and if you need to, move some things around and then look back down at your compass and see what's going on. So Joe Cormier asks, that's a cheap compass. I saw you shake it to make it go back in place. That's not good. So the compass that I use and have used for over 22 years is a Cammenga Lensatic compass, and it is not a cheap compass. It is definitely not the highest end compass that you can find. There are, you know, some professional compasses that people use, you know, when you start talking about how to lay roads or railroads down and things of this nature, that you have to be even more precise and things of this nature. But a Cammenga compass, one, it's bomber proof, man. I can throw that thing at you from here and it's not going to fall apart. So a Cammenga compass is not filled, right? It is not filled, has nothing inside the compass, where a lot of your base plate compasses are going to be filled either with water or some kind of alcohol, depending on the quality of the compass. But with that in mind, and you know, when you have a non-filled compass, there are pros and cons to both. I prefer my Cammenga because I've been using it, but man, I do love a good base plate compass. Cammenga is not a crappy compass. So along those lines, Bab Combob says the liquid, the direction pointer is floating in is important, and make sure it's floating in alcohol, not water, otherwise it could freeze. So even more on that note, you know, when it comes to having a filled compass, like most base plates are, they have some a fill in there. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to whether or not it's developing bubbles. So if you get up to a certain elevation, or if you get down or up to a certain degree temperature, it will impact your compass, which is one of the reasons why I prefer my Cammenga compass, because I don't have to worry about that. Alan Davis, Time Kais, Perry Chamberlain, and so many others asked about magnetic declination and how do you take that into consideration with a lensatic compass. Can you dial it in? So you can't you can't dial it in like you do in a base plate compass, right? With a good base plate compass, you can adjust for your declination and you set it and forget it, and you never converting back and forth, left to right, up and down. You don't even care. You just get in your azimuth and you're going. So with a Lensatic compass, I need to take into consideration declination every single time that I use it, every single time that I pick it up. So you can't dial it in like you do with a base plate. Clara Gloria asks, do you watch movies and see navigators and think to yourself, man, he ain't gonna find using that technique? I did have to laugh on that one. I do laugh and shake my head at a lot of things I see in movies. I don't know that I've seen too many, even when they were patrolling, where the cinematographers took enough attention to detail to look at who was navigating, but I probably would. Sam asked, so I could imagine you could use the method shown to mark a return point if you ever needed to head back to where you came, right? Man, Sam, that is a really good question. So what we're talking about here is I know where I'm starting from, and if I shoot an azimuth, I want to make sure that I know what my back azimuth is, and all that is the exact opposite direction that you're getting ready to head off to. So if you're shooting an azimuth from 0 to 180, you're going to add 180. If it's from 180 back up to 360, you're going to subtract. So if I had to shoot an azimuth for 90 degrees, my back azimuth is 270, right? So bam, 270. And so that allows you to be able to move back to where you started from. So Chris Farr asks, so why is the scale in metric and not imperial? And you know, when cartographers started going a long time ago, centuries ago, everything was using meters, and that's just how we carry on today. So the UTM model of the Earth is based off of that scale, and it uses meters. And I know it's commie math, but you know, that's just something that we got to get used to. So Michael Mays Senior and Steve and a couple other asked similar questions. So if let's say I'm hunting and I leave my truck at point A, and I keep track of my bearing and my distance and my direction, and I hit a point, how do I get back to my truck? Whether I hit multiple points, I start at A, I go to B, C, D, I want to get back to my starting point. How do I do that? Now, a lot of other people asked similar questions. You know, I want to go hunting and I want to stop my truck, I want to shoot off and move out a particular distance and direction. I want to make sure I can get my way back. I thought that was a really good question, and this is definitely one that I'm gonna have to or want to put a little more attention in detail and do a full demonstration of exactly how to do this, right? But in general, what you need to do, if you're plotting everything you can't plot on a compass. If you're plotting everything on a map, you want to make sure that you're getting all your distances and directions before you move out. And whether you're hunting or doing a land nav course, always plot all your points first and see exactly where you want to go. And if you know you have to go in order, like let's say you're hunting, you know you're going to go to deer stand A and then over to deer stand B, and I want to be able to get my way back. You want to make sure that you get all these things before you step out. And it's always a good idea to double check your work, even when you're out in the field and you're trying to work yourself back. But you get all these things done, and if you don't do that, if you know that you've parked along a linear road, you can always use a panic azimuth. And a panic azimuth is nothing more than, I know where I'm at, and I know let's just say I know that I'm north of this linear feature, that no matter where I'm at and I'm moving around in all of this terrain, if I just shoot an azimuth of 180 degrees, if I just move south, I know that I'm going to pick up on this linear feature. You know, it could be a road, it could be a stream, it could be railroad tracks, power transmission lines, whatever it is. I know if I just move in this direction, no matter where I'm at, if I'm feeling lost, I can work my way back to the road, and then I can find my truck from there. All right, everybody, so I know it wasn't a top 10 list, but it was a top however many list. So I hope that the questions that we shared with each other were maybe some of the questions that you had or that you had asked. If I left any out and you're like, Stoker, man, you should have included this one in your video, make sure you leave a comment down below. In addition, if you have anything that you want to add to the conversation, make sure you leave a comment down below so that we can just keep this conversation rolling, because I'm going to tell you, we can always keep learning from each other. And if you like the content of the video, make sure you like and subscribe the video. Click that notification bell so you can stay up to date. And as always, man, until then, we'll see you. Man, this is just beautiful.